Okay, let's talk about American Horror Stories' latest episode of Bloody Mary. So, pretty much, I think that American Horror Stories has definitely been pushing the envelope with its latest episodes. I don't know how I feel about Ride just yet. I know that a lot of people really didn't like that episode. I thought Milkmaids, that was the last week's episode, was good, and I think this episode's good as well. But let's talk about exactly what we have here with Bloody Mary. So, last year, I think Ryan Murphy had a poll talking about what do y'all want to see next in American Horror Stories. And of course, Bloody Mary, being the urban legend that it is, was one of those top priorities. But of course, we don't have a full season of Bloody Mary, so we think. I don't know exactly what the next American Horror Story will revolve around, but I don't think Bloody Mary is that. So let's talk about what exactly we are getting with this story here and how exactly it might fit into the larger universe, especially with Coven. So, very first and foremost, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk all the episodes of American Horror Stories. We're going to cover all of American Horror Story when that premieres. We've done it in the past, so this is your go-to channel for all things American Horror Story. So make sure you're following us and hitting that notification bell to know when videos drop. But let's get into it. So this basically follows four friends who are having a sleepover, and they decide to, what do you do at sleepovers? Call Bloody Mary. And of course, if you've ever been to a sleepover, if you've done a sleepover, especially I feel like in the earlier 2000s and all of that, this was such a big thing, and now you see it be still brought up, and I think that sort of shows the power of these urban legends, right? So what we see here is these friends call upon Bloody Mary. And at first, one of them isn't too keen on doing it. One of the friends who also has a sister in the friend group. So it's two sisters and two friends who make up this core group here. And the friends are Elise, Bianca, Lena, and Maggie. Bianca and Elise being the sisters. And we see that Bianca's not really keen to doing this. She doesn't feel like it's sort of a right thing to do and is scared about the possibilities. But lo and behold, they do it anyways. And what happens next is that Bloody Mary gives them all what their heart desires, the truth. But in order to do that, they have to make sacrifices along the way. Lena wants to be head cheerleader. What does she have to do? Paralyze the head cheerleader already. Maggie wants to get back with her ex. What does she have to do? She has to leak the news of the ex's current girlfriend out there. Bianca wants to get into her top college. What does she have to do? She has to frame her guidance counselor as being a person that has essayed her. And then we have Elise, who wants to pretty much become like wealthy and sound and not worry about anything. What does she have to do? We don't find out. She doesn't want to say it because it's too much, but we'll find out in a bit. So what next happens is they are sort of trying to figure out if it was real or not, if they should even listen, or if they were just hallucinating. Eventually, it turns out that it is all real. All of this is happening to them, and every time they are near a reflection or a mirror, they eventually see the spirit of Bloody Mary saying like, "Y'all, time's ticking. I told y'all what to do, and get to it." And so we see them trying to juggle how to exactly to overcome this, or they will be killed, as it's said in the story of the urban legend that they will come and claw your eyes out if you don't do what Bloody Mary told you. And so we have them struggling with this whole thing. Lena at a point is about to paralyze the other cheerleader, but is of course stopped. At another point, we see that Maggie's about to leak the news, but is eventually stopped. And so they're trying to figure out things, but it's too late. Lena has already been killed by Bloody Mary, while Elise is trying to figure out things and all of that. Eventually, she does come to a realization of what she has to do when she finds out the truth about where this all stemmed from, and is basically a story that was told during the Underground Railroad of a woman who claimed to be helping slaves and all of that, eventually turning on them and giving them to slave catchers or murdering them at the most. And we find out that one of these people that were there was actually Bloody Mary herself, Mary at the time, who was being held captive by this woman. And they were basically tricked by another black woman to do all of this and to be sort of brought to this white woman who was taking advantage of them. So we get back to our present day time where now Maggie is also one who doesn't do what Bloody Mary told her and ends up dead as well. Now it's just the two sisters that are left. Elise tells Bianca that she has figured out that there is a blade that they can use to kill Bloody Mary, and she goes and gets this. But they ultimately have to go out into the woods and summon her, and this is the only way to get her to stop. Once they do this, they are out there and Bloody Mary is summoned, but Elise is not doing anything. Bianca's starting to worry about what exactly all of this is, and that is where Elise basically tells her that, yeah, Bloody Mary told me how I could be safe and also have money and never worry about a damn thing anymore, and that's by giving the blood of three innocents, and of course those three innocents being Elena, Maggie, and now Bianca. Lena and Maggie were stopped from doing what they were going to do because that would mean that Elise would not have three innocents. And this is definitely something of a twist at the end, because now Bloody Mary's waiting for the final, like, innocent soul, of course being Bianca. And Bianca and Elise get into altercation, but eventually Bianca comes out on top and kills her sister Elise. Elise is basically dead now. Bianca's like, there, you have it. Kill me now. What does it matter now? Bloody Mary tells her that she has never really killed anybody, and she is just there to show people the truth. And the truth of the matter is that Bianca, at the end of the day, is innocent. She then tells her full story of how she was almost killed by the white woman who was basically turning them into slave catchers and eventually going to kill them. She basically tells the story of how she was almost about to be turned into the slave catchers when she remembered that she was a devotee of Mami Wata, and that basically turned her into this sort of like power at the moment, where she developed these psychic powers that led her to be able to snap the necks of the slave owners, and also get the woman who had been sort of like tricking all of these slaves into thinking this was a safe haven, and basically turning them back in or killing them, killed. She killed this woman, but what happened next is she actually accidentally killed the other woman who had been aiding her, the black woman, and this sort of upset Mami Wata and put her into the mirror to be there for all of time until she basically would just be there. And all she would be able to do now is show the truth of the heart, and that's because she wasn't able to sort of make this woman who was helping this white woman see the truth of light of what exactly she was doing, and actually just killed her. And so that was kind of a way of a punishment for her, because she didn't actually try to help this other woman. Now she basically tells Bianca that everything is just done, but Bianca decides to use the blood of herself as another innocent to finish the ritual that Elise was doing. In turn, maybe she would now be safe and be never have to worry about money or any of that. However, this isn't the case, as soon as they do this, then we see that Mary and also Bianca switch places, and now Mary will become the new person out into the real world, while we have Bianca now actually being trapped in the mirror and becoming the new Bloody Mary. And now she has to pretty much do all of this as well that Bloody Mary had been doing for 150 years, I believe. So basically that's the end of it all, and I think this really ties into Coven as well, especially because we've seen from the first episode with Dollhouse, with these whole like powers that go beyond the supernatural and all of that. We saw that in Dollhouse, and we saw this as well in Bloody Mary, that Mary had these powers as well, be awoken. Of course, it is different awakenings throughout time that we see in the timeline. We saw that this also happened to Lady Gaga's character, always revered as like the first witch for them there, but I think that we could definitely see Mary as well being one of them, also through a different spirit as well. By the end of it, Bianca is now the new Bloody Mary, and she has to pretty much do all of the doing that they do, and we have Mary now out into the real world. Will we see Mary actually come into contact with the Coven witches, and does this lead into our next season, which I think should definitely be a pretty good one as well? That is yet to be seen, but I really dug this episode, and I really do like the way it was shot. I think a lot of cinematography in here was great, especially compared to other episodes, and the design for Bloody Mary was very nice as well. So in the end, I think that this was definitely one of the best episodes in the series so far. So a major twist as well is that these other two friends, Len and Maggie, were not killed by Bloody Mary. They were actually killed by Elise, who was just trying to collect their blood, but framed it in a way to be seen that they were killed by Bloody Mary. So that was a big twist right there as well. But overall, let me know what you thought about this episode, and what do you think about this connection to Coven? Is there a connection? Is there not? They definitely don't really imply it, but I think it's definitely shown through the actions that happen, and other people have pointed out to the sounds that we hear as well that are very much so connected to how the witches, like when they do their magic and all of that, it sounds. So I could definitely see that as well. But anyways, as always, that is going to do it for me. If you haven't already, like I said, hit that subscribe button down here. Hit that notification bell to know when videos drop. We have a video on Orphan and Beast coming out tomorrow, and we have a ton of stuff as well on the way. So make sure you don't miss out on any of that by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. We are going to be covering all of the other American Horror Stories episodes, as well as American Horror Story when it does come out. So don't want to miss out on that by subscribing below. But as always, that's going to do it for me. As I said, check out all our other videos on the left. Check out all our other recaps on the other episodes we've done if you haven't already. And as always, I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.